Fling. Fling. Have you ever heard this word before? Fling. It has two meanings. Okay? What do you think those meanings are? Let's explore the first meaning. Okay? The first meaning is to throw quickly. Okay? Now, these two meanings are kind of categories. Okay, so we're going to see some different examples. It's not just throwing things. Okay, like if I take off my hat and fling it, yeah, I could throw something physical like my hat. We're going to see some examples where it's not just physical. So this is a great word to use. Guys, if you're excited to learn this word, smash that like button. Let's take a look at some examples. Okay, so it could be like a piece of clothing. You could say, he flung his socks into the corner of the room. Flung is the past tense of fling. Okay, so, actually I do this every day. If I get home from work or if I do something, I take off my socks. Just fling them. I fling my socks into the corner of my room. Maybe you have a laundry basket in the corner of your room, but you don't want to get up and take your socks and drop them in your laundry basket. Nobody does that, right? Maybe you're just sitting on your bed or you're sitting on the couch and you take off your socks and you just fling them, right? Sometimes at sports games, people actually take off their hat and they fling their hat onto the ice if it's an ice hockey game, or if it's like a soccer game or something, or a baseball game, they'll take their hat and they'll fling it onto the field. Okay, so you can fling anything. You could fling I got this. Look at that. There's a water cap from a water bottle. I could fling it at you. Oh, I missed you. All right, I just flung the water bottle cap at you. You could fling your clothes. You could fling a book, shoes, anything. Okay? Look at this example. I love the way my wife hugs me. She always flings her arms around me. Isn't that beautiful? Right? So imagine if you come home from work and your wife meets you at the door and she flings her arms around you. Right? That's great. That's a beautiful thing. That's a way people hug. Like if you haven't seen your boyfriend or your girlfriend for a long time, and you get to the airport and you meet for the first time after maybe a few months, you fling your arms around each other, right? So you're taking your arms, right, and you're flinging them. You're throwing. It's like you're throwing your arms around, right? So, look at this example. She flung back the blanket to find the spider. So imagine if you are in bed and suddenly you see a spider beside you on the bed. And the spider runs under your blanket. What are you going to do? You're going to take the blanket and fling back the blanket to try to find the spider, right? You're not just going to fall asleep with a spider in your bed. Or would you? I wouldn't. I would be grabbing that blanket and flinging it to find the spider. And, just freaking clobbering it, right? That's what I would do. I'd just clobber the thing. You know what clobber means? Clobber means to hit hard. Okay? You know, if there was a spider in my bed, I'd fling back the covers. Covers means the blanket. Okay, I'd fling back the covers. I'd grab a shoe or something like that, and I'd just clobber the thing. Clobber. Hit hard, right? Let me know. Would you clobber the spider? Would you fling back your covers to find the spider? You know what's scary? It's not scary seeing a spider. It's scary when you don't see the spider anymore. If you see a spider and then the spider hides in your house, like in your bed or somewhere, and you can't find the spider, that's the scary thing. At least for me. Let me know. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Okay. I always fling myself onto the couch as soon as I get home from work. Okay. Are we still recording, guys? Yes, we are. Thank you for joining me today, guys. Do you do this? When you get home from work after a long day, you're tired, you just fling yourself onto the couch. You don't sit down slowly. You don't go to the couch and then just sit down very, nice and slowly. No, you just fling yourself onto the couch, right? You throw yourself. So you can fling yourself. Does that make sense? You can fling your arms, you can fling a book or some socks or something, but you can also fling yourself somewhere onto the bed or onto the floor if you, for some reason, or onto the couch if you're tired. Yeah. Do you do this? It's a great thing. I flung myself into that project all summer. Okay, what does this mean? I flung myself into that project. So here we can see this is like a figurative meaning of the word fling. You're not throwing yourself literally. You're not literally throwing yourself onto the couch, right? If you come home from work and you kind of just jump onto the couch, you dive onto the couch, that's a literal meaning of fling, right? You're physically doing it. But you can also kind of figuratively do this with your work or with a project. Okay, so I flung myself into that project all summer. So maybe you take on a project for the summer, any project. Maybe you're building a deck behind your house. You're just working at that project every day. Every day you spend hours and hours doing that. Well, this is a great verb to use then. You could say, I'm just flinging myself into this project. Or like after the summer, if your friend asks you, what did you do all summer? I was just building my deck. It took me months, all summer. I was just building the deck. I flung myself into that project all summer. Okay, so this is a great word that you can use in many different situations to kind of make your sentence a little bit more interesting. Guys, I need a swig of water. Sorry about that. So what do you throw yourself into? What do you fling yourself into? Some words in English are just a little bit more interesting. So this is basically another way to say throw, right? It just has a little bit more feeling to it, right? It has like certain kind of gives it a little bit more of like a casual meaning. So let's say you get home from work and you take off your socks and you throw your socks into the corner of the room. In that situation, it would be better to use the word fling, because it's, this word almost has that feeling of just, it carries a little bit of a different tone or a different mood or a different feeling, right? You could say, I threw myself into that project all summer. That would be fine too. It would be the same meaning. This one's just a little bit more, you flung yourself into it, right? It's a fun word, okay? Look at this example. My wife always flings harsh words at me. Ooh. Is that you? Do you fling harsh words at your husband? So, what does harsh mean? Harsh means hurtful, cruel words. You never help me with anything around the house. You just come home from work and you sit on your lazy butt all day watching sports. That's it, I'm done with you. We're getting a divorce. Harsh, right? Usually we fling harsh words. If we have something critical to say, something cruel or something, we fling our words. We throw our words at the other person, right? Like, we don't say, you're the worst person I've ever met in my life. You're so ugly. I hate you. I hope I never see you again. We never do that, right? You never speak soft. You never speak harsh words softly. You are so fat. You need to go on a diet. You should get out of my life and never come back. I hope I never see your face ever again in my life. No, we don't say that. We say, get out of my life, you idiot. I hate you. You're throwing them, right? We're violently throwing them. So that's what we can use the word fling. You're flinging your words, harsh words at someone. That's not good. So just notice. Now we're going to talk about the second meaning of fling. But notice the first meaning of fling is to throw something, right? I got a coin here, Canadian toonie, right? I could fling this at you, or I could fling it into a pond. You know those ponds with like fish? Yeah. Why do people always throw coins into the pond? What's the use? Or you could say, people always they just fling coins into the pond. So you could fling, you could fling things with different emotions. Okay, you could fling something at someone in anger. Like, imagine a book, right? You could, or let's say socks, right? Socks is a good example. You could fling your socks at someone in anger, or you could fling your socks into the corner of the room out of laziness. Or you could fling yourself into your work just because you're so dedicated. So that's why this is a good word. It carries a little bit more emotion than the word throw. And it's usually good to choose emotional words, because it makes your speaking a little bit more interesting, or makes your writing interesting. It's a higher level word. So if you're taking an exam and you're writing and you say, I always throw my socks into the corner of the room, you would probably get a higher score on the exam if you use the word fling. I get home from work and I always fling my socks into the corner. Okay, so it's a great word. That's why I'm making a video about this. Okay, so the second meaning of the word fling is a short period of enjoyment or wild behavior. Okay, so a short period of enjoyment or wild behavior. Look at this example. We liked each other, but it was just a summer fling. So what does this mean? Okay, here we're talking about a romantic relationship that was just for a short period of time. It was just for the summer. Okay, and it was kind of wild, kind of fun, just enjoyment. It was kind of unplanned, probably. Have you ever had a fling, where you like someone romantically, but you're not really in a relationship? You're just in a fling, and then it ends. Like a fling ends. It's a short-term thing. But you could say this. You could say, I wanted more, but she was only interested in a casual fling. Okay, so maybe you like a girl and you want a serious relationship with her, but maybe she doesn't want a serious relationship. So, but she still likes you. She just wants to have a fling with you. Maybe. Okay? Look at this example. She had a brief fling coaching volleyball before starting her career as a doctor. Okay. Is this talking about a relationship? No, she's not in any romantic relationship with anyone here. She had a brief fling coaching volleyball. So it was just a short period of time coaching volleyball before she started her official career as a doctor, right? Like imagine if you're studying to be a doctor, right? You study for so many years and then you're going to start a long career as a doctor, and doctors are busy, right? So you might graduate and you might think, well, okay, before I start my career, I just want to do something fun for the summer. I would just want to coach volleyball. I've always wanted to coach volleyball. So maybe for the summer or just for a few months, you have some fun coaching volleyball. And then you start your career, right? So she had a brief fling coaching volleyball before starting her career as a doctor. Does that make sense? We're just talking about a short period of time, something that you enjoy. A fling is something you enjoy. Okay, it's not a bad thing. Like if it's a relationship, well, obviously you enjoy it. It's fun. It's a bit reckless, a bit wild, a bit unplanned, maybe. So look at this. I'm going to have one last fling in the Philippines before I retire. All right, so imagine if you are nearing retirement age. Let's say you've been going to the Philippines, every year, and you have a great time. You go to the beach. You just, you go to some bars. Maybe you rent a motorbike and you go around the country. That's a fling. It's kind of it's something. It's a short period of time, right? Now, why are we using the word fling here? Because look at this, one last fling. So all the previous times you went there, were they flings? Sure, you could call them flings, but I think my phone thinks I'm talking to it. Sometimes my phone just kind of starts lighting up for no reason. Thinks I'm talking to it. I think my phone is listening all the time. It's kind of weird. It's kind of creepy. Do you ever get creeped out? If something kind of makes you feel weird, you can say that creeps me out. If suddenly your phone starts talking to you, that's happened, guys. Where suddenly my phone just starts talking to me. It creeps me out. So yeah, the reason fling is a good word to use here is because it's one last fling. Okay, so this here we're not talking about a relationship. This is just the time you're going to have fun in the Philippines. Okay? Whatever you do there, it's just a period of enjoyment. Okay? So, yeah, you could use this word. That'd be a great word to use here. So remember, the word fling is kind of a one-time experience. Right? Imagine like if you and me are romantically interested in each other. Okay? We might have a fling, and it would just be kind of a one-time thing. It wouldn't be like again next year and then the next year and the year after, because that's not really a fling. A fling kind of has this feeling of a one-time experience or a last experience. Okay, so I'm going to go have one last fling over in that country, or I'm going to, like if it's, and the word fling is kind of it kind of has this feeling of being spontaneous, not like a planned, like a fling is something that's not really planned. Like if you go to the Philippines and have a fling, it doesn't really mean that it's going to be a structured trip. I mean, it could have some structure, but the word fling, remember, it kind of means like a wild time. You don't know what's going to happen, so imagine you go to the Philippines, you go to a bar, you meet some people, they're going to a different city, and then you join them, and then you're going to some different places or some islands or something, and you're just kind of going wherever, it's a spontaneous trip. So that's what a fling is. Like if you have a set schedule, okay, I'm going to spend 3 days at this beach, and then I'm going here, and then I'm going here, and then I'm going to fly home there. That's not really a fling, right? It's just like with a relationship. Like imagine if you and me are interested in each other, right? And I say to you, okay, next year, let's have a fling. So not now, but next summer, let's have a fling. That wouldn't really make sense, right? Like if people are romantically interested in each other, it just kind of happens. The fun, the wild time just kind of happens. It's not like a planned thing. That's why it would make no sense to say, let's have a fling next year. Why? Why not now? Right? So there it is, guys. There are your two meanings of fling. So let's do some homework. I want you to make a sentence with fling. It's a very great word, right? It's a word that you can use in so many different situations. Like, we do this every day. Every day, you might get home from work, take off your hat, throw it onto the bed, or take your socks off or your shirt or something, or maybe you throw yourself. You fling yourself onto your bed. Or maybe you fling your arms around someone to hug them. Or maybe you fling yourself into a project. Maybe you fling harsh words at someone. Or maybe you go on a fling to Thailand or to India or somewhere, Or maybe you have a relationship with someone that's just a fling, just a short term. Now, I would say a fling isn't more than a few months. Like I'd say a summer, sure, there could be a summer fling, but not a year-long fling. I mean, that's kind of pushing the definition then of the word fling. That's pushing it. If I would say, could you have a 6-month fling? Sure, but flings are probably either weeks or months, not years. Yeah, no, it's not really years. So just keep that in mind. We're talking short-term things. So make a sentence with the word fling. Post your homework down there in the comments. I look forward to reading what you guys write. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I hope this word is helpful for you. Just practice with it. Just fling it around sometimes. Fling around the word fling and just experiment with it and see what happens, right? Sometimes you have to do that with English words. So sometimes the best way to practice with English words is just to kind of fling them around, and see what happens. See how people respond, right? So guys, fling a comment right down there under the video. As always, I love you very much. Not in a fling kind of way. I mean in a real, permanent way. I love you permanently. So, I love you very much. Hope you're doing great. As always, stay safe, healthy, and happy. And also, as always, I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.